Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. What are we talking about?
We're talking about, this is a big day. We're talking about the...
What happened? Is there something significant that happened today on Wednesday, January 20th?
It was the day the Kraken was released. And no, it was...
She did it! Kraken, Lynn, whatever her name is. Whatever that woman that we never have to hear from again.
Woof. The Biden-Harris inauguration was today, which also was the same day Trump got on Marine One and then went to an Air Force base and then got on Air Force One and went down to Florida. And we haven't heard from him since. And it's been real nice.
And you know why we don't hear from him?
Well, he's been kicked off Twitter.
Yep.
And B, now that he's not president anymore, the news people, I'm sure they'll still, fawn over him at some point, but no one really sought him out today. No one really checked in and saw what Trump's hot take was on anything, because there's nothing he can do about anything. He's just some cranky old guy. Did you see that Greta, that climate change activist?
Yeah.
Did you see her?
She just changed it, whatever the dumb thing Trump said about her years ago, she just switched it around.
She said something like, there's a nice old man looking forward to his retirement or something.
Yeah. It was really funny. Nothing like having a president of probably the biggest arsenal of weapons in the world pick a fight with a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah. I have to think that at noon today, the Secret Service leapt for that briefcase to get it out of Trump's hand, the nuclear codes briefcase.
I have a feeling that he has never had it.
Yeah.
I like to think that he's always had what would be considered the placebo of,
right.
And he's probably hit that button many times.
They probably gave him the nuclear codes, and it was basically you just type in 1 for A and 2 for B and 3 for C.
It's like that Fisher Price phone with the eyes on it.
Yeah.
Doesn't call anything. Doesn't do anything. It's just cute.
He just carries. He pulls it behind him on that little string.
Yep. So all right. So it was probably one of the biggest days, and it'll probably be the biggest. Well, I'm sure there'll be lots of days. Here's the crazy thing. There's a new day every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Every day is a new day.
Right. They come out daily.
They do. They come out daily. If there's an extra day in the day, time to worry.
Right. Yeah, that is.
And if there isn't a day after the day, time to really worry.
Right.
Well, where's the day?
We do have a new day coming up tomorrow. It is strange. We were talking before we started recording, and you were talking about how we used to see Trump's schedule, and it was 9 to 12 was executive time, and then it was
That's not even okay. So Trump, let me look it up. Trump's schedule. It was it got to the point where they didn't even put anything that detailed out, like executive time or whatever it was. It was literally just one statement. Let me see if I can find it.
It got bad.
It would say some lame generic thing like Trump will work tirelessly throughout the day.
Yeah,
it was such a bull. I mean, everything about him was a fucking con.
Yeah.
It is a blessing that this man is gone. It does not resolve the problems because he left a lot of problems. There'll be some dipshits who'll say that the country was fucked before he came, and I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm also going to be I would like to get back to that part.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing. Like, we'll get into this later, but like how Biden was able to, how important it is to have the presidency. Like, it's a big fucking deal. And he was able to basically wipe out most of Trump's 4 years this afternoon with just a pen.
Oh yeah,
with the power of the presidency.
He did that all like he basically participated in all these events, swung by the office for 20 minutes, undid basically 3.5 years of Trump's legacy, and then went and saw Bruce Springsteen play. I mean, that was basically Biden's afternoon.
And the thing is that it's the power of the presidency is very important. It does matter who's president.
Oh yeah.
I always could not stand the dipshits who would say that it doesn't matter who's president. Yeah, it does. Tell it to the people whose lives get hurt depending on who's in there.
Well,
it matters a lot.
Oh yeah. Fortunately
for us, the 400,000 people who are dead because of Trump.
Well, Trump could have made his legacy last a lot longer had he gone through the legislative process, if he had worked with Congress to pass those as laws. But he never did that. He just signed these executive orders.
You're talking about all the, it's executive orders, right?
Yeah, that's why it was so easy for Biden to undo them. Biden just went in there and said, nope, nope, nope. And he got rid of like all these big deals because Trump had never done the legwork to get them passed as laws. If Trump had made them laws, if they had been legislated, they would have been very difficult to get rid of. That would have been another matter entirely. That would have gone straight to court. You'd be going through appeals. I mean, it would have been a big deal.
That's why in these 4 years, even with the having the first 2 years where he had the House and Senate, they tried every way possible to get rid of the ACA.
Yeah.
And they couldn't because it was law.
Right. Yeah.
Trump, I guess DACA wasn't law. That's why he was able to, it was like an executive order done through Obama.
I think so. I think Obama, because
Biden, I guess, did it and basically put forth that it would now go to Congress for them to then make it law. And that's what he did today too. That wasn't just like, here's an executive order. It's like, here's an executive order. I'm basically sending it to Congress now for them to cement it.
Yeah. And that probably will work. I think there's probably like some, now that Trump is gone, there's probably a decent number of people that want to work on immigration. There's plenty of Republicans that don't, but I'll bet you there's a sliver enough who do, and that can happen. That can probably happen.
Yeah. What about that wall though? What's going to happen to that wall?
Well, I think, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, I think Trump only built like 5 miles of wall.
It's very little. He claimed he did. I think they like built on existing wall already.
Right.
And might not be as little as 5 miles, but it might not be more than 80 miles. It's very little.
Considering
being that was like what he literally ran on in 2016, which was moronic. They built a wall, which was like the most evil, asinine, stupidest, backwards thinking. He didn't do it. He didn't deliver on it. The only thing he delivered on was a huge tax cut for him and his friends.
Yeah.
That's it. Him and his family.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was a Tiffany's, inheritance project. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It was Ivanka's inheritance.
Well, he got rid of the wall today, or he paused construction on the wall. That was, Trump had like repurposed some money from the Defense Department. He declared an emergency.
Wait, you mean Mexico didn't pay for it?
No, that's the other big deal. He declared an emergency, which let him take money from the Pentagon's budget, and then he used that to build like 5 miles of wall. And Biden got rid of the national emergency, which made it so that he couldn't use that money anymore. And it just took like 10 minutes, It was amazing.
Yeah, let's get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to talk about other things. We went over some stuff. I do want to talk about the the QAnon thing, what happens next to them.
Yeah.
That'll be later on, so maybe you want to add that in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so just wanted to talk briefly about this guy. We talked about him last week. His name, he's the legendary Taser Balls.
Yes.
He's the guy who famously tased his balls until his eyes, nose, and ears bled and smoke came out of every orifice. His heart exploded and he died.
Yes.
This happened on January 6th when the MAGA terrorists, by the command of their leader, Donald Trump, let's not forget, this happened.
Oh, yeah.
It only happened.
Oh, I'll bet you we find out a lot more now that we have, bless you, now that we have, people willing to report on it. Now that you have like a Department of Justice that's willing to say, oh, well, here's all the files we have on it.
Oh, yeah, I think you're going to see more and more people getting arrested.
Yeah.
This isn't over yet. And I think it's going to, I would personally think that it would lead to some Congress and senators being, investigated.
Yeah, certainly investigated. There's plenty of
good reason.
Yeah.
Like some of them definitely, the one lady who tweeted coordinates basically to
she's
her mom, Lauren Boebert's mom was one of the people there.
Well, that's the thing is she was the one who was live tweeting Nancy Pelosi's whereabouts during the riot. And
she tweeted today it was 1776 also.
Yeah. And then she for a couple days was like, I never gave a tour. I never gave a tour. I never gave a tour. And then her news story is like, I only gave a tour to family, but look, that's giving a tour, right? Like that's not giving any tours. That's giving a tour. And secondly, like, I don't know, that's like, your family's probably filled with white supremacist members anyway. And B, like, what do you mean by family? Like sometimes like people say like, oh, they're family, but they're not really family. They're like
the people that go to Olive Garden. When you eat there, you're family.
Right. So I think that's why you investigate. You sit her down under oath and you say, hey, we have some questions about your statements and how they contradict and, so.
And the mom, and like, what's her connections to things? And,
right.
There was a video that came out of her recently.
That was a great one, yeah.
She's a huge racist asshole.
She's a peach.
What?
She's a peach.
Yeah. Well, what they say, like whatever doesn't fall far from the tree or something. The shit doesn't. So Taser Balls. Obviously, there's been some questioning if he did. This man did really die of a heart attack.
Right, that is true.
The person is dead. He's not made up. I forgot his name. You can look him up. If you just look up Alabama man who died from a heart attack. I can do it right now, but I'm not going to. Who invaded the Capitol on this January 6th. His name will come up. And they actually found some things about him, and it's really interesting. You would think, like, you see, like, some of these guys, and they're just like, he's a MAGA chud, just some racist asshole. But he really wasn't. They said that, like, the guy was a Democrat, like, his whole life. Very progressive, actually. Progressive actions, voted for Obama twice.
Yeah.
And he just got something fucking happened. And I don't know, he didn't think Obama delivered, or who the fuck knows? Something happened. I like to think that Trump was like releasing spores or something in the air, and some people got infected by it, and their brains, like, they got a brain worm or something.
That's not, I mean, like, the brain worm is obviously like,
we're kidding about that,
but this is like a relatively common theme where you do read about these people that were like, oh, they were pretty normal, they were actually kind of progressive, and now all of a sudden they're like hardcore Trump voters, and they think that Democrats eat babies and they're like doing ritual sacrifices on children. It's crazy. I mean, it really
and that
is
may
like,
be true, but that's not important right now,
Unity.
Yeah.
It's they believe like patently crazy things, like like really crazy things.
Well,
like,
we don't even know if he was a QAnon guy or not, but he definitely was full on MAGA lunatic.
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, he came to the Capitol with a fucking taser.
Right.
To tase his balls, of course. but it just shows you, like, the guy was like 55. Like, what happened to this guy? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't, like, how do you all of a sudden just change your, like this political awakening, and it's like the dumbest one possible. Well, I'll never understand to this day and age how people would try to rationalize their support for Trump. Like, I would like some of them just come out and admit that they just think he was funny and that they hate libs and they just want to own them, and Trump was like the perfect vehicle for that. At least admit that. I'll be fine. I mean, I think you're a douchebag anyway, but at least fine.
That makes sense for like 20-year-olds.
Yeah, but don't come to me with like, oh, this man's a great businessman. No, he's not. There's enough of a record to show he isn't. There's like literally 40 years of like his 40 years of fucking like sinking, what was it, Taj Mahal or something?
Oh, yeah, in Atlantic City, yeah.
Totally sinking Atlantic City. There's all his products became like a joke. They're all like, don't tell me this. Like, that's bullshit. You all you have to do is like do 5 minutes of research to know that he was not a good businessman.
You know what I think it is? I think like if all you watched is Fox News, your view of the world would be super different.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know for a fact.
But if you go from Fox News and then you go Fox News and then you maybe dip your toe in like, The Blaze or InfoWars, Newsmax, and then on the weekends you go to church and the church is in on it and they're like, this is a holy war between us and the devil. You put that all together and that's all the media you're consuming. It's not a huge leap to see someone go full out crazy,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, those people, I get that. I want to know like the non-religious people, the ones that don't go to church, the ones that are just like the rationality of how you can see someone like Trump and go, yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, if you're a grifter or something, like someone made money off of like Trump being president and just, which is not an excuse. I'm just saying, like, I'm really, I get your thing, but the people that go to church, and you could say that about literally any Republican president. They did it for George W. Bush for 8 years. I remember there was this movie called like Jesus Camp. There was like,
I remember I saw that.
And they had these kids like basically worshiping a cardboard cutout of George W. Bush.
But I'll tell you, George W. Bush, although terrible, was competent. He was a competent and serious person.
I don't know how much he paid attention back when he was president.
Very much so. I mean,
he was not competent. The difference between Trump and Bush are really not that much different. No, he was just making fun of like Trump's schedule.
Yeah.
They kind of would do the same shit when Bush was president. They would say shit like George W. Bush reads like 300 books a year or something crazy.
Yeah,
it was like a crazy number. And it was like, first of all, we know they're lying because he's not Johnny Five, the robot from Short Circuit. And he's the president of the United States. I would hope that he doesn't have time to read that many books.
No, I'm just saying, like, you could see that Bush couldn't speak intelligently about everything, but like, I generally got the impression that he was not a good person. His interest didn't align with mine. He wasn't like super smart or whatever. He wasn't like a Clinton or an Obama or a Mitt Romney or something, but like he came off as competent to me. Like,
yeah, like he could do the most basic things that Trump refused to do anyway.
Trump, it's easy to forget like all the Trump classics. Remember when there was a hurricane and science said it's going to go to Florida and Trump's no, it's going to go to Alabama. And then he, on national TV live in front of everyone, took out a map which had clearly been altered by a Sharpie. And like, Trump's like, no, this is what NOAA said.
And it's like, what are you, like, are you insane? Or are you just an evil little troll that's
Bush,
like laughing on this?
Bush wouldn't have done that. You know, Bush was terrible. I'm not retroactively.
No, he'd have somebody in his cabinet do that.
He would produce a slickly designed poster with a cone that looked like it was supposed to go that way. You know, he wouldn't have like Sharpied it, is I guess my point. Like he wouldn't.
I say is that
he would have produced a nice piece of plagiarism.
Here's the thing
that would trick the average viewer.
George W. Bush is, to me, the worst president in modern history. The only saving grace for Trump is that we only had him for 4 years. But I kind of alter that now. I think Bush is number 2 now because of Trump's handling of coronavirus. And then to top it off, the refusal to have a peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah.
And the violent coup attempt.
Right.
That was orchestrated by him and his followers and the people that work in his administration. It was orchestrated by them. There's no denying it. There was his campaign advertised January 6th. They told people to come down there. The whole thing was coordinated. It was coordinated by most of the GOP, if not the major parts of it. The Senate and the Congress were in on it. And, you know, I mean, George W. Bush came in, stole in 2000 with the Supreme Court. His brother helped steal Florida for him. We got stuck with him for 8 years. There's a lot of shenanigans in 2004 of like voter suppression just went through the roof in 2004.
Yeah.
The amount of voter suppression was astronomical. But, you know, and then Katrina kind of did Bush in, and then he lost the House and Senate in 2006.
Yeah.
And kind of just became a non-factor for the last 2 years, you know, like his presidency was considered done in 2006.
Yeah, he was a lame duck for longer than he might have been.
Yeah. 9/11, he would have been a lame duck because he would have been voted out after one term if it wasn't for 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
9/11 was the biggest gift for him.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, it was.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
I mean, again, looking back, you know, and imagine if 9/11 happened under a Democratic president. Rush Limbaugh be on TV demanding like the head of Al Gore or something, whoever was president. They wouldn't be uniting behind Al Gore.
Oh, no,
they would have like called for him to be like taken out of the front lawn and killed. We all got behind Bush. We all, you know, everybody was shocked and awed by it. Never seen anything like that. But this whole thing with COVID, it's like it's a slow burn death. Like, we didn't see 400,000 people die at once, like buildings fall. No, every week the number just got greater and greater. What did they say? Like 4,000. Like it was like a month ago. It was like 4,000 people died in one day.
Yeah, it was like oddly enough, they said that it hit 400,000. I think like the day Trump left office, like the day before. On the 19th, it would have been. I mean, it was like a bizarre milestone. Like, oh, now we're at 400,000 dead. It's crazy. It's just really, that's a lot of people. 400,000. That's like almost half a million.
That's a very high number of people dead. The one greatest things about Biden's inauguration was that he acknowledged it in his speech. He said more people died of COVID this year than the entirety of World War II for the United States. That's crazy.
It's a lot. Yeah.
But you still have this huge portion of the country that refuses to believe the existence. Now, a lot of us were making jokes on Twitter day before and said Republicans are now going to start taking COVID seriously. Sure. They're going to start like, oh my God, did you see that Biden's responsible for 400,000 dead Americans? You know, they're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
And they'll do it, maybe not as comically as that, even though they've proven to be hard to parody.
True.
How do they do that while also being anti-mask and also believing it doesn't exist? So they got to find that thin thread of like, how do we blame COVID on the Biden administration and all the deaths, but at the same time refuse to wear a mask because it's not real, and not get the vaccine because it's not real, and also tell people it's not it's overblown, it's not real, it's they'll do it. They've done it. They do it all the time, and they get away with it. They committed sedition less than just 2 weeks ago. And I saw Mitch McConnell tweet today, the peaceful transfer of power. And I was like, were you sleeping for the past 3 months?
It's bizarre. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people preaching sedition that are now all of a sudden like real concerned with unity in the sense that they want to be treated better.
Yeah, like listen, don't pass any legislation that will make you your legacy and people will want to vote for Democrats going forward. And don't try us for anything. Don't do any investigations. Yep. Shut the fuck up. And we'll pretend we're unity, but we'll say that one side of our face while we then go on like Fox or Newsmax or whatever, and then just say the election was a sham.
Yeah, Biden should go full speed ahead with all the things they're worried about, really. And I think when I listened to Biden's speech today, I got the feeling that he's like, and I'm grossly paraphrasing here, but like, look, let's be all about unity. If you want to come on the side of the truth and work towards these good things, we can agree to disagree on some stuff as long as we're all playing in good faith and unified and speaking from truthful places, and we'll work on infrastructure together.
I didn't see his call for unity as like a surrender to the Republicans. No. There were people that I saw like some leftist personalities I found some, and then of course they would do that, and I'm like, no, I don't see it that way. I think exactly what you're saying. It's like, be rational.
Yep.
Like absolve yourself from Trump.
Yep. Tell the truth. Be truthful.
And admit failures and work with me. I don't think it was like a call to like, I'm gonna, pretty please, can we be friends? I think it was like him kind of saying like, yeah, this is how it is, asshole. This is how we're going to be doing things.
Yeah.
You could be part of it. We could be a country. I don't know. I didn't see it as like him bending the knee or something to fucking Mitch McConnell.
I didn't either. At all. I saw it as a good, strong, forceful thing, and also reasonable.
And also like the average American's like, yeah, I didn't like what I saw on TV that day.
Well, there's enough senators, I'll bet, Republican senators, who I disagree with vehemently about a lot of things, but that didn't disgrace themselves over the last 4 years.
Those are the ones you're going to see run for president. I'm sorry. It's not going to be Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and all those assholes. They could try running, but I'm making a prediction right now who the Republican nominee is going to be.
Yeah.
Ben Sasse.
Yeah, I thought
he is a smiling evil piece of shit.
Yeah.
He'll say nice things while pretty much voted for everything Trump wanted anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
Put through all the judges, but he'll do it with a smile. That's who that's who the Republicans are gonna put up. They're gonna put him. He like said something recently about Marjorie Taylor Greene. He said that the QAnon lady from Georgia, also AKA Senator.
Yeah.
He said, I don't like to drive 55. Cabo Wabo.
Cabo Wabo. Then he downed a fifth of tequila.
He called her cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I think he's making the right moves.
Yeah.
I think I want him to lose. I don't even want him to be the nominee, but I could see that. That's my prediction. I may not be him, but I could see it whoever the GOP picks will package that Republican. They're not going to, I don't believe that they're going to go crazy Trump person. It's just not going to happen.
I saw, and look, I don't know how I feel about this, but I saw on Twitter the last couple of days Trump talking about doing a Patriot Party, a new party, the Patriot Party.
From jail?
Well, think about it. Like, let's say Trump starts the Patriot Party as an alternative to the GOP. I could see him peeling off some GOP people. Now that would destroy the Republicans and the Patriot Party. It'd be Democrat run everything. It'd be
awesome. Let them have the third party. Let them.
Well,
go ahead.
There's a political theory that says that the reason the U.S. government has lasted so long is that we only have two parties. That's like basically that's the key to a functioning government. That has long.
Isn't it true that you can't really have extra parties unless you have a parliamentary system? That's why it works in like England and in Canada and stuff, is that's how you build third parties, because you basically give voters like the option to, it's almost like you're picking like a second choice, and it builds up parties that way. So you're not like if you're voting, you're like, I'm going to vote for this, but then, you're voting also for Green Party or something. You're not kissing your vote goodbye. You're like building up.
Yeah, but a couple things. Some states have started looking towards doing that. Like Alaska kind of does a version of that, and there are states that do a version of that. So you could theoretically vote. I'm going to vote for the Patriot Party, and my backup is going to be the Republican Party. And that would maintain essentially a two-party system, because just for practical purposes, that's what it would look like now. But theoretically, like if it were a three-party system here, I mean, like the Green Party or the Libertarian Party or whatever, they just never win. You could theoretically have multiple parties in Congress. They would just they might caucus with each other and form a two-party.
It would still be a two-party system in the end. You'd still have one. You would have a progressive and you would have a conservative, and you could dress it up whatever fucking way you want.
But it wouldn't work the same way, because let's say you had the Trump people, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll call them the Patriot Party, the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party.
The poo-picker party.
Right. So for most of the time, the Patriot Party is going to go with the Republicans because they're both terrible. But all of a sudden, some Democrats like, hey, let's do $20 an hour minimum wage. Patriot Party is going to go with the Democrats on that. And
that's the thing. It's like, AOC earlier in the year during the primary, she was interviewed and she said, like, in another country, me and Biden wouldn't even be in the same party.
Yeah, probably not.
Like in England, there's like Labour, and then there's
still Tories, and aren't there still Tories and conservatives?
Yeah, there's Tories. They're the conservatives, but there's like another like progressive party name. I totally forgot. But regardless, like AOC would be in that one, and Biden would be in the other.
Yeah.
And they would have probably more in common than the Tories, but they would not be. And she kind of has a point, but I feel like I don't know. I'm going in. I'm not being naive. I'm going in with good faith that I think that like Biden's gonna be a lot more progressive than people think. I think he's gonna be more progressive than Obama was.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
And it's not because of like even because he wants to. It's almost out of need to fix the country, to put through programs, to make things better. I'm sorry, like the way we're going, student debts that are out of control, an unchecked environment, and lack of regulations. So all these like bullshit regulations that, remember, Trump's like, one of his main things he thought was like that he made it easier for cranes to fall on people in cities. It's like, I mean, like he's like, I'm rolling back regulations. Like, who the fuck is cheering on this? Yeah, my kid ate a glass in his peanut butter. You can thank old Trump for that one. You're welcome. Hey, did you find a finger in your hot pocket? You can thank old Trump. Did you get E. coli yet? Oh, you did it? Don't worry. You'll get it in 6 months, and you can thank old Trump.
Well, it is. Yeah.
I remember the first year of Obama's presidency, there was all this shit that happened because of like stuff from George W. Bush administration.
Yeah, I do remember that.
All these like, because you basically, the first year of the presidency is really like the last year of the last president.
Right.
Trump, of course, claimed the economy was the greatest, but it was like running up the steam of Obama's economy.
Right. The economy is like an ocean liner. It doesn't turn on a dime. It builds up some speed and momentum, and then it kind of travels in that direction at that rate of speed until the steering can take over. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I'll bet you Biden's super progressive.
I think he's going to surprise. I think he's going to surprise people.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the cabinet he's built, it is a mix of some old school, new school. He said he wanted to be a transitional president. And I think he means, and it's not me thinking this, I've read people.
He said it in one of the debate, in the town hall debate that Trump didn't attend. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, some people thought he meant like, oh, I'm only going to stick around for a term and then let Kamala Harris take over. But I think he means like, this is where we transition to all those new things that we've been talking about. This is a transition from the older people in the party to the younger people. All the ideas, like I heard Biden talk a lot today about like racial injustice and stuff, and white supremacy, and like that's pretty bold to like have that be a big part of what you're talking about on your inauguration day. Yeah,
I'm sorry, but like I'm so sick of it. I always see these like douchebags that would like post pictures of like Biden with
Strom Thurmond or
and I was, even when I was like big on Bernie, I always thought like, stupid, because I knew I voted for Bernie and everything, but I'm like, it could be Biden,
right?
And this just hurts him. But I'm like, this is so stupid. It's like, okay, you're pulling a fucking photo from like 35, 40 years ago.
Right.
The country was so different back then. We were so much more conservative back then on so many things.
Well, and you had to, my guess is you had to kind of play ball with the people that were willing to play ball so you could stitch the country back together.
And again, it's like one photo. Yes, I'd call out people. I'll be like, oh, Trump took a photo with this guy. They must be best friends. And it's like, well, maybe that's not true. These people meet people constantly. They take photos with them constantly. Right. It doesn't mean they're like,
well, they're not like buddies or anything. I mean, like you take photographs of people all the time.
Trump has whatever. It doesn't even matter. I'm like, it's stupid. I just think it's like, dude, this is 2021. I think unlike, a Mitch McConnell character whose politics don't evolve because the nature of their ideology doesn't evolve. If it evolves, it evolves in a way of causing more harm. It doesn't evolve in like, I need to respect these people, or I need to like understand these people, or I need to do this.
Yeah.
That's what the progressive movement is. Like, to understand things and like, and as you get more progressive, you go along with it.
Right.
And I think he's doing that. I don't know. I mean,
well, the proof will be in the pudding, but one of the big things we were going to talk about today, were his executive actions, his executive orders. And I think there's a lot of clues into the type of things that are important to him. Now, I don't think it's entirely the case because like you can do executive actions or executive orders for some things, but not others, so I think it's a mistake to look at these 17 things and say, these are what Biden cares about totally. But these were 17 quick things he could do. Clearly, he prioritized them.
Well, he said that on his campaign trail that he was going to do all these, and he stuck to his promise. Do you have it in front of you or anything? Or?
I do, yes. Let me just kind of go down the list real quick. And
like he said, he would join the Paris thing immediately.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna rattle them off. These are just in the order in which the article gives them. And see.
I need them in the order they were signed.
All right. The 100 days masking challenge, federal grounds mask mandate. So he
So the
has
masking challenge, I think, is kind of lame, but I understand why he's saying that. He can control all the federal, so any federal buildings, any federal. I'm assuming that includes like the post office.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that means that all the workers will have to wear masks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right, guy who doesn't wear a mask at the post office. I'm looking at you. I have a feeling you might be wearing a mask next time. And then, and basically any federal properties or anything, they have to, and then, because once you start doing other things, that's when you start getting into nightmares. You got to deal with assholes like Ron DeSantis, and it just becomes like a bigger nightmare. I think what they need to do is do what Trump refused to do. One, obviously, make it all federal properties. You got to work. They can control that. They can easily push that through. Basically, send that down to everyone who runs those things. Like, this is mandatory. Your workers, anyone who works in the building has to have it. Good.
Yeah.
They need to put ad campaigns out.
Yeah, that I think would be important.
Clever ad campaigns about wearing masks. And that's the thing that Trump didn't do. And because they won laziest administration. That's why I don't believe that he's going to have a political party. I'm just going to get this out of the way real quick. Trump, when he ran for president, it was almost like the reason why he ran was to basically negotiate his contract with NBC.
Yeah,
because he found out that what's her face was making more money on The Voice, the woman from No Doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And that pissed him off. So, and he's been talking about running for president for years. So he came out. I think the whole like saying Mexicans are rapists thing, I don't know why they decided to do that. As a way to get if your goal was to just piss the neck off so you get more money or something,
right?
And then it kind of just grew from there, and they already booked supposedly other things, and it just blew up. Yeah. And the media was inviting him constantly. They would give him all the airtime, and it just kept on blowing up. But when he was running in 2016, I would read all these stories and see that he had like no ground teams. No ground games. Nothing. It was like a fake. That's why there were some people who were like, this guy's working for Clinton. Like, it's got to be a joke.
Yeah. It was like a Potomkin village or something.
They basically did nothing. I mean, he had the guy with Facebook and what was it, Cambridge Analytica and all that.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't think this whole Patriot Party thing, that's bullshit. Complete bullshit. That involves real work, having to create a party and all that. And it
doesn't have to be a good one. He just needs something to solicit donations.
Oh yeah, well yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, it's gonna be a money-making scheme. Yeah. But I just don't think the real work will be done. It's just a con. All right, so let's go back to.
So he had the order to mandate
Order 66. Damn, I didn't think he'd do that yet.
Second one I got is that he rejoined the World Health Organization.
Wow, what a crazy thing! Yeah, here's the thing too. And Trump with the 400,000 dead, there's a lot more than just the fact, and we talked about this on this podcast many times.
Yeah.
It wasn't even just that, and this is where supposedly George W. Bush was much better than Trump. Supposedly much better with WHO and all that, much better on diseases in other countries, supposedly. Like, what's his face said, I remember he like pissed off people. The guy from like Live Aid, what's that guy?
Bob Geldof.
Yeah, he said that George W. Bush was the best thing that ever happened to AIDS, which sounds like kind of funny as a sentence.
Yeah, it's.
But that Trump like just disregarded the mechanisms that the Obama administration put through, thanks to like their handling of Ebola and SARS. They had like different mechanisms that would communicate with different people, different organizations, so that they could tackle things real quick. And supposedly the Trump administration purposely kind of just dismantled that.
Yeah.
And then he also removed us from like WHO or something, right?
It was so bizarre. He took us out of WHO. And there's a couple different reasons for it at the time. I honestly, I forget all the reasons. He was a pretty exhausting.
It was douchey, no matter what it was.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those ones where it's like, he didn't want to give who any money. He thought like, why? That was basically it. Why are we giving who money? You know, and who was like, this is a global pandemic. You know, and it didn't matter. But anyway, we're getting back in who. Number 3 is he's creating these COVID-19 response coordinator positions, which is not like a shocking thing, but like if you remember, I think our previous coronavirus czars were like Mike Pence and Jared Kushner. Like,
what was what? Yeah, but what was it?
Creating COVID-19 response coordinator positions.
Like real ones, not just like.
Not like your daughter's boyfriend. Like.
Yeah, like people who are really going to take it seriously.
Right. So that's one. He's going to extend the eviction and foreclosure moratorium. He is going to extend a pause on student loan repayments.
Good.
Here's a big one. Rejoin the Paris Agreement on climate change.
Yeah, let's see what Ted Cruz had to say about that. He had something really intelligent. Let me find it. It was really, really smart. Really smart man. I mean, I think it's not even that it's more like he just thinks his supporters are morons.
That is 100% it. The people who like Ted Cruz are not super bright.
Yeah, sorry guys.
You have to be to like
more than half of Texas. By rejoining the Paris I'm doing the Ted Cruz voice. By rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement. This is a perfect impression.
Oh yeah.
President Biden indicates he's more interested in the views of the citizens of Paris than in the jobs of the citizens of Pittsburgh. This agreement will do little to affect the climate and will harm the livelihoods of Americans. Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't say yeehaw yet.
He make little gun firing motions with his hands.
Pew. I will make me some machine gun bacon. After I gargle Trump's balls.
The first thing I thought when I saw that is that, like, it's so ironic that he put Pittsburgh, because he just spent a couple of weeks trying to deny everyone in Pennsylvania the right to vote.
Yeah, like especially Pittsburgh. Yeah, like it was very specific. Pittsburgh, he did not want them to have their vote. Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Some reason those areas of Pennsylvania, he had a real problem with democracy there.
Yes, it's difficult to figure. Can't quite put your finger on it.
Nope.
But it's something like that.
Probably something to do with him having a hood.
Racism.
Yeah, a little bit of classic racism.
All right, so we're rejoining the Paris Agreement. We're revoking the Keystone Pipeline permit.
Well, it's also really dumb what Ted Cruz said, because it's not called the Paris Climate Agreement because it's just what affects Paris.
Yeah, right.
It's really dumb. Okay, sorry. So we rejoined that. What was the other one?
Well, now there's a bunch of sub ones in here, and these count as separate orders. One is that all executive departments and agencies must immediately review and take appropriate action against any actions taken during the last 4 years. Which seems super specific. Agencies should consider revising vehicle fuel economy and emission standards to cut pollution.
Good. That's important.
Oh yeah, temporary moratorium on all oil and natural gas leasing in ANWR, the Arctic. Yep. Reestablishing the interagency working group on the social cost of greenhouse gases.
Good.
And then revoking the presidential permit granted to the Keystone Pipeline.
That is something that's probably one of the best things Biden could have done right from the get-go. That's something that I didn't even see coming. I mean, Obama took too long to cancel it at the end of his presidency, knowing that Trump would just come in, and Trump immediately is, I'm joining it. But then you also found out Trump was profiting off of the Keystone. Right. He had money in it, of course. So
that's a weird one. You're right. That's been going on forever, and no one's ever gotten a really good handle on it. And I like the energy from Biden just coming in day one and saying, nope, we're stopping it.
It's also kind of amazing. It shows you how shitty Trump was that 4 years later, this thing still has not been like completed to the point where like it would make it harder for Biden. You know what I mean? Like if it was this thing this full thing that was existing, it just shows you like what a scheme and scam his presidency was.
It's completely. Next one up, and we can kind of go back and hit particular ones, but the next one up is he's rescinding Trump's 1776 commission.
You mean his racist as fuck thing that he tried putting through in the end?
That was a bizarre one. Now, this was destined to fail on Trump's part simply because A, Trump was involved in it, and B, it was done so last minute, and it was so clearly like a counter narrative to the New York Times' 1619 project. So at the end of it, they discovered that like, white people are awesome and slavery was bad, but it was mostly the people in Africa that were responsible because they sold us, he got rid of that and he did that.
Well, you were talking about I think before we start talking about this conversation, before our podcast, you were talking about how something to do with the 1619 thing and how the Republicans were losing their shit by that.
Yeah, I think, and this is like a little bit of stuff I've read and more stuff that I know. The 1619 project really was like a good serious look at like reconciling slavery, like at our role in slavery, our responsibility. It touched on things like reparations and stuff like that. Now, I think the problem most Republicans have with stuff like this is the 1619.
This is off their racist voters?
Well, it's built for use in schools. I taught history before, and if like the New York Times, like if they're going to put out a project like that, it's going to be done mostly by historians and legitimate scholars, and there's going to be a lot of research, and they're not just going to like put out, oh, here's what you should believe. There'll be little activities and quizzes and little short films and coloring things and maps and shit like that. It's basically telling a teacher like, hey, you want a couple weeks off? Here, I got you just roll out the 1619 project and you don't have to lesson plan for 2 weeks.
And this probably especially pissed off Republicans because this is the kind of shit that like they get mad at about colleges.
Yep. Yes.
They hate the colleges because the kids learn more things in college. They learn more things about our past. They start reading things like the People's History of the United States. They start learning about different types of things that may open them up and realize, hey, maybe our country's kind of fucked up. Yeah, well, we have a past that has never been ever really resolved. We're still kind of haunted by it because we don't allow ourselves to resolve in any way. There's so much that and it's like, and the party knows too that the more you learn, there's probably a good chance, unless you're like a piece of shit like Ben Shapiro or something, that you're not going to vote Republican.
No.
Or you're going to demand more things from the Republicans.
That's the thing, is that the 1619 project, the average, I don't, and again, this is kind of where my own bias is coming in. I don't think the average person in the US reads the New York Times, much less reads special projects put out by the New York Times.
No.
That shit will find its way into education. You can guarantee it that when the 1619 project came out, there's some liberal arts major just graduated from University of Kansas or whatever, and he goes back to his hometown of like, I don't know, Reaganville, Kansas, or wherever they fucking named the city after Reagan. And he'll start teaching that to like ninth graders. And then the ninth grader comes home and he's like, Pa? Because they call each other Pa.
Yeah, Pa!
Pa, I hear we were complicit in the Atlantic slave trade. And then Pa like loses his shit and runs down to the school board and wants to know what they're teaching little.
Why are you teaching my kid?
Yeah, what?
That's their grievance. Why are you teaching my kid? Like, what do you mean, sir? You're teaching them. I didn't send them to school to learn.
That's it. So anyway, Trump wanted a a 1776 project. And son of a bitch, I'll bet you if that thing had come to fruition, places like Texas would have incorporated it
Oh
into their
yeah.
curriculum.
And what was that about? Like basically everything was great.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was the 1776. The
Our
founding of
black friends
America.
just like working a lot.
It was. Yeah, it was. It was like.
And we were happy enough to oblige.
American exceptionalism, and the focus comes not on, and like they probably like rented some decent scholars for it.
The war of northern aggression. That's what
they would frame it like, we may have had a few struggles along the way, but Dr. Martin Luther King, the end. Like that's that
would have been. Some of you became successful rappers, so everything's fine. We're all equal now.
Right. And
everything's great.
The foreword written by Kanye, and it would have been like one of those. So that was their 1776 project. It was clearly, and like they just
you would lose brain cells from that. It would be the opposite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and I feel bad because sometimes they'll take like good scholars' work because it's 100% legitimate to say the civil rights movement in the United States was amazing. That's a legitimate thing to say. And it's legitimate to say that, like, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a uniquely American figure, celebrated by most in the United States. That's a legitimate thing to say. But when you're talking about, like, slavery, you don't lead in with that. You lead in with the, like, hey, white people used to buy black people, and that is shitty. It just sort of, like, got rid of all that part, and it focused on these little fun...
It ignored the fact of, like, which is what Republicans like to do. It's like, how did we end up here? Don't worry about it. Well, I mean, like, you can have gay marriage now. Why is that? Don't worry about it. It's like,
well, that's
let's ignore the many years of people dying in the streets, people fighting for their rights to get to this point. Let's ignore that part. We're here right now. We don't have to worry about that. Hey, guess what? You get sit next to me on the bus. It's cool, man. And it's like, well, how do we get there? Don't worry about it,
Well, and they don't tell the full story. I mean, like Trump would always talk about how he's like so friendly to gay and lesbian people, and he'd sign like an act or two. I mean, there'd be like, oh, that's something Trump did that's like pretty pro gay and lesbian or whatever. But you need the context of the 99 other things he did that were terrible for
the fact that he went after trans people, like
right. That's it. He would say, well, we're real accepting of gays and lesbians, but you did it by pivoting, by triangulating them against transgendered people. There's always a catch. So anyway,
they need to constantly marginalize a group.
Yeah, they need a scapegoat.
Yeah, that's all it is. And it's good to the point where they're just going after goats.
Yeah. Fuck. All right. So here's another big one that came, including non-citizens and census apportionment for congressional representatives.
Which was the kind of that's a big one. This was the bullshit the whole Trump administration has 4 years tried to fuck with the census non-stop.
Yeah.
And the whole point of it is like, well, what's the big deal? Just counting people. It's like, well, yeah. It's a way to, one, get rid of congressmen, get rid of representation, get rid of ways to put money into things. So if you can claim like, well, everyone that lives in this part of the city isn't even a citizen, well, guess what? We don't have to worry about like running water or something anymore.
It's true, yeah. On that note,
So it was very fucked up on many levels. Yeah. It was a horrible thing they did.
Well, and you're right. The big thing would have been to have gotten rid of congressmen or Congress persons in primarily Democratic run areas. It was
that was the main goal. But I mean, I don't think people realize how fucked up the Trump administration was. Like someone tweeted, I think it was the Surfs or something, about like, all the things that Biden signed in, and they always go after Biden, but they were like, this is a big deal. They're like, this is a big deal. They did this, And I wrote, I'm like, yeah, it's like there's a big difference between the two parties.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
It's like it's crazy. You would think. And then some dipshit wrote something like, oh, well, that just brings us back to before Trump. I'm like, well, yeah, you gotta bring it back. You got to get rid of all the harm first that he did. Trump did a lot of harm. You got to get rid of all that. And by getting rid of that, guess what? That's a huge progressive action.
Yeah.
Biden could have just been in and be like, well, we got to talk to our friends on the other side first. That would have been like a nightmare scenario, like
yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm ready to sign in this. I'm ready to do this. But
going to start a blue ribbon commission.
Yeah,
with
get
equal numbers
gang of 8 together, and I've been like, no, but no, he didn't. He came in and he fucking signed all these things that we could just wipe Trump off the planet in a way, and that's a huge progressive action.
Well, speaking of, the next one is that he preserved and fortified DACA.
Again, a massively
big deal.
And he's pushing that one down to Congress and everything to basically cement it, so then when the next fucker tries to get in, somehow some nightmare scenario, Josh Hawley gets in, or nice evil guy Ben Sasse gets in, and they start fucking with things. They can't. Or they can't do it so easily like the way Trump did it.
Right. Yeah. Biden, that's the other thing, is like Trump was an idiot. I guess this goes back to my original argument about Bush versus Trump. Bush understood this shit. Bush would build laws that were real difficult to undermine. And Bush hired people. Bush would say to the Republican apparatus, like, who's a good regulation writer? And they would put those people in, and they were really effective. Trump was a fucking idiot, and he put his dipshit kids in charge of stuff. So if you have Jared Kushner in charge of anything, he doesn't know how to do it. It's like telling me to build an airplane or something. It's not going to fly. It's not going to be a good airplane.
Like George Michael from Arrested Development.
Yeah.
In charge, the kid.
Mr. Manager. Yeah. Well, Mr.
Yeah, like if you had put him in charge of things and be like, I don't know, figure it out. And he would just be like, I don't know.
Yeah. But like that's why Bush was different than Trump, in that Bush was competent and effective.
Listen, I understand that you're a huge fan of George W. Bush, and I don't want to. Listen, I get it. It's the Florida in you. You're like, Florida is what got him in. I love Jeb.
I hated Bush so much. I really did.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, I know. Next one is the Muslim ban was ended today.
Oh, Stephen Miller had something to say about that. I don't know who this Stephen Miller guy is. He seems like
yeah, did they translate it from Cthulhu to human? Did they?
Yeah, from ghoul. What did he wrote something, and let me see if I can find it.
His bizarre all vowel alphabet. Like,
let me see if I can find he basically attacked Biden on.
Oh, yeah, I see it right here. It says, right after leaving the White House, former Trump senior advisor Stephen Miller fired off his very first tweet, attacking President Joe Biden's slew of proposed immigration policies. Today, he said, Biden pledged to be a president for all Americans. It's unclear how all Americans are served by opening travel from terror hotspots, proposing a giant amnesty, or halting the installation of security barriers along the southwest border. What a piece of shit that guy is.
Well, and he's such a disingenuous piece of garbage because, one, it's intentionally attacking Muslim people. Let's be fucking honest. It's exactly what's going on. It's going after Arabs, going after brown people. That's what they do. That's one. Two, even if you wanted to say, okay, fine, you're trying to stop the terrorists from coming in here, but it didn't go after most of the countries. It only picked specific countries that the Trump administration had a grievance with.
Right. Like, and it didn't, it was the classic one where it's like, we're going to a war with Iraq, even though 19 of the 20 terrorist attackers were from Saudi Arabia, but we're not going to go to war with Saudi Arabia, even though that's where they were all from, and it just, a lot of that shit doesn't make any sense.
It's a piece of shit. It's like, and one, I don't agree on it at all in any way, but in the end of the day too, you can just say, well, it was a racist half measure because it just went after, fuck, if you're going to be a straight up fucking racist piece of shit, then you say the entire Middle East, but don't try to act like you're this, like, I'm trying to protect the country. No, you're not. You're just targeting specific You're targeting countries that you can inflict harm that don't affect our economy. That's exactly what it was.
That was it.
So his wife tweeted a picture of him, a loving picture of him and her holding their spawn.
Oh yeah,
wrote, "Forever thankful." I'm assuming this is what Katie Rose Miller sounds like. I never heard her on TV, but I'm thinking she's like, "Forever thankful for the Trump Pence administration. Because of the last 4 years, we became a family of 3." I'm assuming that's what she sounds like. I never heard her.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I wrote, "It's so beautiful when soulless, sunken-eyed ghouls mate." I mean, I don't know if it's beautiful, but
well,
emphasis on sunken-eyed ghouls.
Well, it keeps getting better, especially for ghouls like Stephen Miller, because the next one was that this is kind of a hard one to explain. It was called Setting Civil Immigration Enforcement Policies. And basically it said that the Department of Homeland Security can set its own use of immigration policies. It didn't have to use harsh and unusual policies set by the executive branch. And now that Biden's administration is running Department of Health, Homeland Security, that nominee will presumably say, like, let's not put kids in cages. Let's not, they'll stop that. That one's a little less clear to me, but it sounds promising. The next one is that he would terminate border wall construction.
Good.
Which is a great one.
Well, it's just stupid. I mean, it's so dumb. The wall doesn't do anything.
Yeah. The next one, this was a real specific one, extended deferred enforced departure for Liberians. Liberia is like a weird country. It's like super pro-America. It's named after like liberty. The capital of Liberia is Monrovia, which is named after a U.S. president. It's basically like a freed slave country,
Okay.
And so I guess Liberians had come here under, to avoid persecution in their homeland, and Trump was going to send them back, and now Biden is saying they can stay. I don't know much about that, to be perfectly honest, but I do know that if someone comes here seeking help, we should not just kick them back to where they came from. We should check it out.
Well, it's like we're not supposed to do that. Aren't we supposed to provide right. What do they call that word? Not sanctuary, but like.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not sanctuary, but we're like refuge. Like you're a refugee. We're supposed to. You're right. There is a word for it. But
everything the Trump administration did had a racist bend to it.
Yeah,
because they knew who their voters were. It was all about preserving. It was all about a lie to their supporters. Like you're out of work because of the Liberians.
Yeah,
right. You're out of work because of the Mexicans. You're not out of work because of the greedy corporations that have shipped your jobs out that we're going to give you a tax cut to. No, that's not it. Or the fact that like technology's changed and your job is basically irrelevant, and we refuse to invest anything to, grow a new industry, like green energy.
Right.
Hey, you want to get all those coal people jobs? There's a huge way to do it. It's green energy.
Oh yeah.
We create millions of jobs throughout the country. Trump wasn't going to do any of that.
I was going to say, and let me do these three, and then I want to say something about the green energy thing. The last several were prohibiting workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. The next one was ordering appointees to sign ethics pledges, which is, I don't know how big of a change that would be. Presumably they had to sign some sort of pledge before, but this
can't date Hope Hicks.
Right. And then the last one was improving and modernizing regulatory review. And this is really, in my estimation, just another one of those like, hey, let's take a real close look at all the shit that's been done over the last 4 years. If Biden is active and on top of things, he has a lot of tools at his disposal to to stop anything Trump did over the last 4 years. So I think that's what that last one is.
So there was one that you were talking about a little earlier, and kind of misheard you. You said that was a big deal. It was something that seemed to target the Trump administration a lot more.
Oh yeah, it was. Gosh, I'll even scroll all the way back up here. It was. Resuming. It was a weird one. Keystone. Yeah, it was part of the Keystone Pipeline thing, plus, and it's kind of ambiguously titled, plus other environmental actions. Because Trump was hostile to persons of color, absolutely, and he was hostile to transgendered persons, absolutely, but he was also like super hostile to the environment. And one of them says
and Native Americans.
Well, yeah. One of them said that all executive departments and agencies must immediately review and take appropriate action against any actions taken during the last 4 years that are harmful to public health, damaging to the environment, unsupported by available science, or not in the national interest. That covers like a ton of stuff, and it's not like even a real low bar. It's like if it's anti-public health, you can reverse it. If it's anti the environment, you can reverse it.
So it kind of opens the door to make it easier to reverse a lot of shit that Trump did.
Yes. Yeah, I think that one and one of the last ones I read off are really executive orders that probably don't do anything today. Like that probably didn't do a thing today. But what it did was tomorrow morning, when the email goes out, it's like, hey, everyone take a look at the programs they're working on and show me the science that supports them. That's how you get like, oh, Alabama has a $200 million federal grant to do abstinence-only education. Hey, guess what? There's no science backing that up. No more.
Right.
I mean, that's how that stuff happens.
That's been proven to be junk science.
Yes, right. Or, hey, Indiana wants to do like an experiment with conversion therapy. We want to let Medicare and Medicaid cover conversion therapy or something.
It worked so great on Mike Pence. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, so now that's not going to happen. Well, we don't have science to back it up, so you don't get money anymore. So it'll be, those things are real big. I was going to say about the green deal stuff. You said earlier, like taser balls, going back to taser balls, how taser balls was like reasonably normal not that long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know the story of taser balls and how he came to tase his balls repeatedly that night, but
that day.
But I firmly believe that if in general people have a job and they have healthcare and they're not addicted to anything, they'll probably not wind up like taser balls. You know what I mean? That last one,
trying to invade the Capitol,
right?
Accidentally tasing his balls until his eyes and nose and ears bled.
That last one's a tough one. I would wonder. Now I know some of the people that stormed the Capitol had jobs. Well, a lot of them did. A lot of them were.
A lot of them. It was found out a lot of them were like traveled
cops or something.
I mean.
But if you have a good job, and if you have healthcare, and you're not addicted to anything, and I'm gonna include with that like Fox News or Oxy, looking at you, Ohio, or internet gaming or stuff like that. If you can like get some sort of balance in your life, you probably don't wind up like taser balls. And that green, gosh, I'm losing my track here. The Green Deal.
Yeah.
Green New Deal.
Sure.
Green New Deal.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is a game changer as far as like jobs goes. You can put a lot of people to work with a Green New Deal.
Yeah, good paying jobs too, not,
good paying jobs that do good things, that provide a service we all need and that don't harm the environment. That's like a big deal. And if you have a job then you're more likely to be able to have or purchase healthcare. And if you have a job and you have decent healthcare, and you're at that job 40 hours a week, and you're not like worried about the plant closing or this, or and it's like a good job, steady job, then you're less likely to be like fucking popping pills on your day off or something. You know, I mean, I think something like that. Yeah, I think something like that could be a huge game changer, and I think people resist it.
People working, but like you said, 40 hours, not more. Yeah. And only having to work 40 hours because the one job they have
is sufficient
enough income. They may not become rich off of that, but they won't starve, and they may be able to buy a car, maybe buy an iPad, maybe
I'll even bump it up, be able to take a vacation once a year.
Yes, that too. Being able to do something.
Yeah, travel.
Not having to worry about if I missed one paycheck, my literally like could lose my house, like my apartment, or you know what I mean, like.
I know
that kind of society anymore.
Yeah, almost everyone I know on a personal level works on their day off, or like feels guilty if they're not working on their day off, or tries to like hustle more money by working. I mean, like it's rare. I hardly know anyone who takes long planned vacations and that's just what they do.
Well, I myself don't work 40 hours. I work when I feel like it.
Oh yeah, but like you know what I mean. Like you.
No, well, I mean, I'm an independent artist, so I'm working when I'm working, and I'll work whenever. I don't work for a company. Now, when I worked for a company, though, I used to get annoyed when I'd see all these other people who'd be like they need to freelance, they need to do this, and I'm like, you should be able, like, this should be it. You come to work, they pay you an okay salary. And then you go home and you live your life. You don't have to do other work. I don't want to do other work. Like if I did artwork, I want to do it for my own fun or for my own project. But I don't have to be like, oh shit, I have to go design a fucking pizza menu so I can keep the lights on. Because my fucking job that I work 60 hours a week doesn't pay me. No, that's not how it should be. I'm sorry. It used to drive me absolutely nuts. I hated it. So that's why I ended up just leaving and doing my own thing, because I'd rather be like, fuck it. I'm gonna like dictate what I'm doing. And I don't have to go to a company and being told what to do. Now, I'm not going to get into personal things. Why I'm able to do this for other reasons. I don't, because I'm not the one with the insurance. So it's like, it would be a different story. It would be a different story.
That's another thing, and I guess I probably should have thrown that into my list of 3 things. You need, unless the job situation changes drastically and people's money changes drastically, you're really at such an advantage with a partner. And I hate that talking about it that way, because that's like an argument for the, for like you need two parents, or better than one parent. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, the way the economy is built right now, you often need 2 incomes.
You need for like money purposes, not just for like, oh, your kid's gonna grow up weird if you don't have a dad or not have a mom. Like, not that bullshit. It's more like the kid's not gonna grow up because you need like 2 incomes.
Yeah, there's plenty of single moms or single dads who do a knockout job.
We're not. This is not a yes.
That's what I say.
But I'm saying that it allowed me to be able to go out and become my own independent artist. If I didn't, it'd be a much different story. Because I think one of the things that needs to change, if not during the Biden administration, needs to change in the future, is that insurance should not be tied to employment.
Yeah. Well,
and they need to come up with a system that works. Now, one of the things Obama did that was great was the pre-existing conditions.
Oh yeah, that was a game changer for us.
And Trump administration claimed that they weren't going to mess when they weren't, and everyone's like, dude, all you have are lawyers in courts. That's what they did. 4 years of the Trump administration, they had constantly tried to get rid of Obamacare, which would get rid of every regulation that was put in the healthcare industry. Would have been stripped, if not worse than before. But the thing is that with the previous conditions, what it did is it tied people to shitty jobs.
Yep.
because it made it hard for you to get insurance later.
Yeah.
It was very hard to like carry over. Like if you basically like didn't get a job within like a 2-month period, like you would not have, like, seriously, no joke. Like if you did not have insurance within like a 2-month period or something, previous conditions would kick in and you would not have coverage.
You'd be uninsurable.
They would claim everything that was wrong with you was because you like broke your finger when you were 10.
Yeah. Well,
there's a huge civil. I said that like people were trying to like downplay Obama's presidency, and I'm like, two of the biggest civil rights movements civil rights acts in our modern time happened under the Obama presidency. One, gay marriage.
Yep.
2-partner house right there. 2, the previous conditions on insurance. There's people who are born with birth defects that can never get insurance their whole entire life.
Well, you're right. It's
really a previous condition.
It stuck you in a job, and the jobs knew that, and they would pay you less and less each year, and you couldn't leave, you know. And Obamacare did a lot of things. Obamacare covers a lot of preventative stuff for free, and Obamacare does like if you're that single mom with a kid, you get a lot of wellness checkups. You get a lot of stuff for free. I mean, I take that. I don't mean to say it's free. You get a lot of stuff that your tax dollars pay for.
It's just you're saving like on like a $50 copay, which you can now use for something else.
Yeah.
And the thing is, or $100 copay. And the other thing is that, and Obama has been interviewed, and he's even said it. It was never meant to be the end all of healthcare. He said it was like a baton. It's like, here, I was able to get this through. It was a nightmare.
No, build on it.
You build on it. And it wasn't supposed to be Trump. It was supposed to be Clinton. And Clinton guaranteed would have built on it.
Yes.
She would have. She wouldn't have made it worse. She would have built on it. Again, would it have been as great as you want it to be? I don't know. She wasn't president. I can't speak for her. All I know is that the past 4 years, we had some ghoul that tried to get rid of everything, like out of just meanness. Not even like.
Yeah. Well,
what?
I think, I think Biden will do something with healthcare. I really do. But I think that he is pretty focused on the coronavirus first and stopping the bleeding on Trump stuff. And knock on wood, like the Democrats get more Senate seats or more House seats in the next election and can really drive a much more progressive agenda in the last 2 years of his administration or of this term. But we'll see. You know, I mean, that's I don't know. But those are his executive orders, and like you said, they're all super progressive.
Well, they're progressive on just the fact that it's a progressive action to reverse a crypto fascist, I guess. I don't know, what the hell would you call Trump? I mean, like.
Well, right now I'd call him irrelevant.
Well, yes, but I mean, like, whatever his presidency was. I mean, he had fascistic tendencies, and it was a progressive action to vote against him.
Yeah.
It was a progressive
That's
action.
the best thing you could have done last year, you know?
And guess what? You know what the most progressive thing that was done in the past 4 years was Biden's executive signatures today.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, I saw the cute meme with Bernie.
That was adorable.
The thing with him in the chair. My brother texted me, said that Bernie looked like if my dad showed up to the and I tweeted that. I said, "That's what my dad would look like." And I hope people aren't thinking like I'm like being one of those weirdos that like Bernie's my daddy. One of those weirdos that like would tweet like Biden's gonna wrap his arms around and give us a hug. No,
well,
that's weird. I meant literally Bernie looked like
your actual biological father. Yes,
Jewish man from New York, which is what my dad is. He's like gonna be 70.
Oh wow.
76 this year, so he's just a couple of years younger than Bernie.
Yeah.
And it was really funny seeing it. Yeah, there's so many good memes of this. I guess like Bernie at the inauguration. Someone, of course, all it takes is one image.
Yep.
Snap a photo of Bernie Sanders, and they put him on like the Minor Threat album cover.
I saw that one.
Someone put him on the subway and like so many. It's amazing how many things were done today of it. It's like.
It was a good one.
I made a really stupid meme I was gonna draw it, but then I decided to make it look worse and make it Photoshop.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the Simpsons episode,
Oh, yeah.
Simpson
That
becomes
was
president after the failure of Donald Trump, which was always meant to be a punchline and
yeah.
not reality.
Right.
It was always meant to. It's like people are like the Simpsons predicted it. It's like they're like some Nostradamus. No, they're funny people, and they said, "Hey, you know what would be really funny? Is it that dumb asshole who fires people on TV, who's threatened to run for the president for years?" I think this, and the funny thing, this was previously. This episode. I think predates his time on The Apprentice. I think it came out in like 2000.
Yeah.
We all knew what Trump was and what a clown he was at that time.
Right.
They said it'd be really funny if one of the throwaway lines in the episode was Lisa's now president and Milhouse says, well, you know, the economy went to hell since Donald Trump's presidency.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it was so far-fetched. And I wrote, just went back and watched that Simpsons episode where Trump was the previous president. Simpsons did it again, and I did a really shitty Photoshop job of Joe Biden's head on Lisa's body. I
that was a good one.
Worked it out of his face, but there's a little detail. There's a family photo in the background.
Oh, I don't think I noticed
and I
that.
put his head on Lisa too, because I'm a very detailed artist. This is why I'm very successful.
Right.
I'm able to work on my own. I don't need like an art director, because I know when I do a meme like that, then I know if I see an image in the background, I have to add some continuity.
Yeah.
Very important that I put Joe Biden's face also
right.
on a tiny image of Lisa.
Makes no sense otherwise.
I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, So just, next time you guys, when you need an artist, you're looking to get something done. I mean, I'm just gonna, anytime someone's like, can you show me what you've done? I'll be like,
pull that out.
This is my work. This is my whole entire portfolio.
My portfolio.
The stuff I did for PBR, Liquid Death, Mad Magazine. I'm not gonna, no, fuck that. They're gonna be like, seen that, done that.
Yeah.
They see this thing.
Just do the one image and then do it in like black and white, noir, sepia, like all of these
colors.
the generic iPhone filters. You just put it.
Yep. Oh yeah. Use the Instagram filters on it.
Yeah, just straight up. Like this is.
It's about the work I've done in the past. The stuff that got out from Rick and Morty.
Don't live in the past.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, this is the now. We got a new president. We got a new.
Well, we have a couple more things that we wanted to get through. We were going to talk about what does the Republican Party look like post Trump, and we were going to talk about
hysterical.
Yeah, it's going to be a laugh a minute, and we were going to talk about the GOP and kind of where it goes from there. Like, does it split? Does it splinter?
And we did talk about QAnon.
We did want to talk about
which
QAnon,
is also part of the Republican Party.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's probably part of the potential split.
And then predictions for Trump.
Oh yeah. Well,
This all could be clumped together.
Yeah. Trump had a quiet day. His first day of retirement. I don't know. Honestly, I think Trump is right now going to bide his time because he doesn't know the fallout yet. I think he's going to be relatively quiet until that impeachment trial occurs, and only after the impeachment trial are we going to see Trump's. Then he'll reveal his next move.
All right, this is my prediction on Trump.
Yeah,
you'll never hear from him again.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy theory.
Okay, I'll take it back. I'm gonna wheel back a little bit. You'll hear from him, but it'll be very, very little because one, he was removed from Twitter.
Yeah.
He became president because of Twitter.
Yeah.
He was able to get in politics because of Twitter.
Yeah.
And he was able to dominate because I was like when these like douchebags will say something like, oh yeah, well, Twitter isn't real life. And I'm like, oh, it isn't? Then why the fuck are you on it too all the fucking time? It is real. Listen, is it real life? No, I mean, when I'm talking to like douche boy 366 or whatever, or like gargle me nuts. Which is a weird name. I don't know what part gargle me nuts is from. Do you know what part? You know some stuff, Joseph. What part of the world is gargle me nuts from?
I think that's one of the after the former Yugoslavia broke into like 7 or 8 little countries. I think that was one of them. It was like
was it at the Harry Tainton Sand?
Right.
Harry Tainton Sand is
and
where
it was
find gargle me nuts.
Slightly to the left of Ligma Balls, I think is like
Ligma Balls.
Yeah, I think.
So, I mean, like, yeah, fine. You can meet some interesting characters, and a lot of people don't use their real names, but Twitter is a great place where you can sometimes attract the attention of a much bigger player in the world.
Yes.
And when they respond, it's super weird. It is real life. It is. Because if it wasn't, guess what? No one would use it. No politician would use it.
Right.
No one would, and we wouldn't have Trump as fucking president but now he can't use it. And that's
right.
He has no sounding board. It started with Twitter, and then it would bleed into his other social medias that he's removed from.
Well, and so many journalists now live on Twitter.
Literally, that's like their
that's
main
what they do.
Thing.
Yeah.
They literally all use that. Even the ones who are mainstream cable, they all use it. Every major announcement is on Twitter. Every politician, most major announcements are usually on Twitter. Lauren Boebert she told everybody where Nancy Pelosi was on the 6th because they all use Twitter.
Yeah.
And getting rid of Trump is a big fucking deal. Now, does it open up the doors for people like, oh, well, this isn't a good thing? Like, you don't want corporations. And I'll say, I agree with you there, but I also disagree with you. Trump had to go. We can do both.
Trump is an anomaly, right?
Normally,
if you have
what?
I was just going to say, Trump's an anomaly. Trump is the reason.
We never had a sitting president incite a violent coup on the Washington Capitol. At least not, I don't know, 200 years. I have no idea.
Trump is like, in some ways, the baby Hitler clause, where like normally, even if you had access to a time machine, you shouldn't go back in time and kill people. You shouldn't. However, if you were somehow to track down baby Hitler, of course you should take your shot, right? Like, so in a lot of ways, like, that's a bent rule, and it's the same with Trump.
Unless you're Tony Stark and you're like, listen, got the Infinity Gems, but I had a kid.
Well,
we can't go back 5 years. I have a kid, Tony. And they're like, fine, we'll just bring everybody forward 5 years. What could happen?
I'm just saying that, like,
I'm kidding.
In general, I agree that social media shouldn't be able to ban people like that. However, since it's Trump, I don't care.
I also think that social media should ban fucking Nazis.
Yeah, right.
And QAnon weirdos and creeps and people calling for violence.
Yeah.
It's okay you can create a thing. I think it's called standards and practice
it's a terms of service.
Yeah. And if you break like today, there was a piece of shit Nazi named Nick Fuentes who tweeted like how many Jews are on Biden's thing. On his it's all Jews on his cabinet or something. I don't know why he said that. I think it's because he's a fucking Nazi. Because he is. If anybody has even 1 minute of research, they know he's a Holocaust denying piece of shit.
I thought he was not arrested in that Capitol riot.
No, there's Baked Alaska. I guess he never was inside the building. I don't know. But he should be fucking removed from Twitter. I'm sorry. This isn't absolution. I'm so sick of this free speech absolutionist because the people who tend to push that the most,
they're assholes.
They're usually pretty bad people. They're not calling for the silencing people. Social media has silenced people on the left many times.
Oh, yeah.
I've been silenced on social media many of times.
No, yeah. Actually, I have too, actually.
To jump out of a plane. No, but I have had artwork taken down by Instagram multiple times, half the time completely uncalled for, and even the other time, an extreme thing. Like, really? You're going to take down my picture of Hitler blowing his brains out? Why?
Yeah.
There's so much worse stuff on here. So, it was almost like a national security measure that Trump needed to be removed from Twitter.
Yeah.
And now it's becoming mixed blessings. And you know what? The Republicans like Mitch McConnell were probably like, yay.
Yeah, he's, I'm sure, thrilled.
They were happy to take advantage of him because they were like, this idiot will sign anything as long as we just patronize this dumbass. We just got to like rub this simpleton's ego a bit.
Yeah,
you know?
That was it.
When he went to like foreign countries and instead of him eating the foods of the culture, they'd make him his like dried steak with ketchup or whatever. I don't know.
Well, as long as Ted Cruz kept Trump's shoes clean, then I think they were all good to go. You know, I mean that's.
But I mean, yeah. So I think him being removed from Twitter is one. His main thing was he was like, well, I'm gonna be a shadow president to Biden, and I'm just gonna literally just attack him on any move he makes, and just probably make up look a lot of shit because that's what he did.
Yeah.
So that's one. You don't have to hear that. Two, he can't announce his like, well, remember what was he supposed to do today? What was the thing he was supposed to do? Something.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to have a rally and announce his run for 2024, right?
Yeah, where'd that go? What happened to that?
Well, I
don't know.
Maybe he
should have invaded the Capitol.
I think he's got his hands full with like probably a lot of civil suits coming, a lot of probably some criminal suits. I don't think your guess of him not showing back up again is that far off the truth. I'll bet you he is a lot more quiet than people think. Now, it is driving the QAnon crazy. There's an article in Politico today. I pulled it up. It says, and they put it really funny, without their leader to direct the next steps, the MAGA coalition, the extremist militants, the hate groups, the conspiracy theorists, and the stands is starting to turn on itself. I just think it's funny that that's what they think that is MAGA. Extremist militants, hate groups, conspiracy theorists, and stands. That is basically
that is what it is.
That is basically it.
That red hat.
Yeah.
Racist fuck.
I've said this a bunch of times on the podcast. I love kind of lurking on QAnon people's pages. There's a couple people on Facebook. I don't know them, but I kind of ran across them through like comments on comments on comments. And they are unhinged right now. They were 100% convinced Trump was going to be president today. A lot of them were pretty convinced that like Hillary Clinton was going to get arrested.
They said Biden was going to get arrested.
Yeah, Biden was going to be arrested, and they don't know what to do. Because like it's like one of those UFO cults where like the UFO doesn't come, nobody really feels like killing themselves. So what do? It's like it's a weird moment.
I got one for you. This one's a good one. I don't know if it's like a joke or not. Joe Biden has been arrested. The deep state is in disarray and has struck a deal with the Trump administration. There will be an experimental surgery that will change the faces of Biden and Trump.
Yes, face
so
off,
when you watch Biden's inauguration, you'll really be watching Trump being sworn in for a second term. And when you're watching the Trump trials, this will really be Biden playing for his crimes. Also, when Trump, as Biden, stammers or slurs his words, that's because Trump is still learning to duplicate his speech patterns.
Yep.
Now, I would love to draw this picture of Trump with Biden's face sewn. Biden's non-bloated face.
Right.
Stretched onto Trump's very bloated
fat head.
I would love to I don't want to draw it because I don't think anyone would get the context of it, but it's really funny. Like one of the biggest flaws of Face Off was the whole
one of them.
Like the fact that it would just look like just smashed on Nicolas Cage's face on John Travolta. They wouldn't just change their whole physical form.
Right.
We have different bodies. We
Yeah.
have different heights, different bone structures. Like
just different ways of walking, different mannerisms, different.
If me and you were to switch faces, it would be, one, really painful, but two, quite horrific looking. Very, and it would also involve, like, you're like, I'm only like 3'3", feet tall. And that right there will throw people off immediately.
It's just so bizarre. I mean, like,
I'm like, was this thing I just read parody? Or
I've seen
that nuts, because this is from someone took a screenshot from like one of these.
No, I've seen that before with people discussing it seriously. I will say most of the people that I see discussing the really fantastic elements seem to be primarily, I don't know why this is, but primarily people from like Eastern Europe or something. They seem to be like, I don't know, but like recent immigrants to the U.S. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just like a bias in the people I'm following or whatever, but I noticed that a lot. They believe all sorts of crazy shit, like that Biden's a clone. They believe in the satanic.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, so they've run out of shit to believe. Trump is, and we all knew this, Trump was going to toss them overboard. Trump wasn't going to pardon Baked Alaska. That wasn't going to happen. Trump wasn't going to, I mean, I found this out. Do you know why he's called Baked Alaska?
Isn't it like some racist shit or something?
No. He was from Alaska and he used to smoke. Yeah. So they called him Baked Alaska.
Like some former BuzzFeed guy, supposedly. Yeah. But BuzzFeed needs to, like, there's some of these places need to like fucking vet their employees. Like, there's all these like horrible people that like were from the Young Turks. Like Jimmy Dore was on the Young Turks. There was like Dave Rubin's another one.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, guys, vet your fucking people.
Right.
Better. Come on, you couldn't tell back then these guys were chuds? Like,
well, it'll be interesting to see what Chud Nation does, because
I'll be honest with you, without the head, the body rots.
Yeah.
I think QAnon's the main purpose of QAnon was to get morons to, one, not to be distracted from what was really going on.
Yeah.
And to vote for Trump. That was the main goal. Here's this cult that for some reason just is always in the favor
right
every action that Trump did. So anytime Trump didn't do something, or JFK Jr. didn't come back for like the
right,
all they had to do was just go, trust the plan.
Yeah.
And then Gina Carano was like, you got it.
Right.
Star of Mandalorian, Cara Dune, Gina Carano. My favorite was when she tweeted a QAnon slogan.
Oh, mercy.
Go one, we go all, or something. It was like, maybe you guys need to vet your employees, Lucas. I don't know.
I'll tell you, the QAnon people are legitimately unhinged. A lot of them, like, it's a weird mix of people that are into religion and self-help and conspiracy theories and like multi-level marketing, and it's just a bizarre
essential oils, any of that type of stuff,
all that, well, like
alternative medicine type stuff.
Flat earthers, a lot of them are big flat earthers.
Pretty much all flat earth evolved into QAnon or devolved. You want to, like, they interviewed that QAnon guy, the QAnon shaman guy.
Yeah.
He found out like he's got this he has to have an organic diet and all this ridiculous shit. And it just shows, it's like when I used to live in like Chico, everyone just assumes that people who are crunchy are like liberals.
Good. Yeah,
no. And then probably a lot of them are like Ron Paul weirdos. Like, you just want to hear someone say like, you can't tell me what to do. But like a lot of these people, like, they're like anti-science. They're,
well, they don't trust institutions, like, and
But they'll trust something that has no validity to it.
We got to do the research.
They'll be like,
research.
What?
Do the research.
Oh, true. Trust the plan.
You're right. Like all of us, like all smart people to some extent, have a natural distrust of institutions. Like you and I, we've talked about this before. Like I don't trust the police state. Like the big city police forces, I think are inherently corrupt in a lot of ways. I don't trust that system. But these people like don't trust the most benign parts of the system. They don't trust like NASA, or they don't trust like the hurricane department, or they don't trust like real basic things. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see where it all plays out. I think you're right. If you cut off the head, then the body withers away. But like
they're not gonna be able, and the thing is, it was all about him, and it was all about like preserving Trump and Trumpism and all that.
Yeah.
His kids do not fill that position.
No, and they're not charismatic like he is.
Has no charisma whatsoever.
No.
Eric Trump has no charisma.
No.
The daughter is like, I don't even think MAGA people trust her.
Yeah.
They definitely don't like the Jared.
Right.
It's all about Trump. That's all it is. And I'm sorry, once he's gone, not saying it's gone, it's just it's a little deflated.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Falwell Jr. or Franklin Graham. It's like
they don't possess the the power of their parents. They just don't.
They'll hobble along for a little while. They'll make their money or whatever. But like Trumpism needs Trump. That's kind of the point.
All they can do, those type of people, is appeal to the most extreme ends. Like Franklin Graham's a good example. He was like a firebrand racist preacher, but he was able, I don't know, I guess over the years, he was able to like gain respect in a way that he would be able to get on like more mainstream appeal. And for some reason, people like were able to like, he was able to get away with more stuff than like your Jim Bakers and stuff. Right. I don't know, like he was respected more. So he can get like he's more in the mainstream. But then his son, what's his son's name?
Well, Billy Graham was the
Billy Graham. Sorry, Billy Graham's the guy.
And Franklin Graham was the kid.
Yeah. My bad. Billy Graham was the guy that was able to like kind of cross party lines in some way, even though if you listen to some of his old shit, he's racist as fuck.
Yeah, but he did for the time, yeah.
But Franklin Graham cannot get that.
No.
He can only speak to the extremes of that thing. Donald Trump Jr. will, if he has if he's not in litigation hell for some life in any way, he has the opportunity to probably run in some shithole in Wyoming somewhere.
Yeah.
His
primary Boebert.
Yeah. But like the chance of him, like, remember he had this delusions that he'd run for mayor of New York?
Yeah.
Like, dude, your dad got like 5% of the vote. Like, you're not going to be the mayor.
That's not going to happen.
They're going to laugh you out of the state. You see Andrew Yang's pathetic attempt to run for mayor?
Yeah, that's sad because we talked about Andrew Yang a lot over the summer. I liked a lot of his ideas. He's butchering this campaign.
Well, he's failed on so many levels right from the start. When he made like a really aloof comment about the apartment size.
He said he's not going to live in New York. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. And then he my favorite was like he went into like this bodega and talked about how important was bodegas. I left a comment. I kind of blew up on his thing. I said that's not a bodega. That's a full-size supermarket in New York City.
Yeah. It's
like, that's not, show me a real bodega. This was like a nice place. I'm like, dude, go to a real bodega.
He
with the bodega cat in there.
You can't fake your way into being like a New Yorker. It's like
and here's another reason why he would fail super hard in New York. He's supposedly incredibly anti circumcision.
Oh.
Like
yeah, no, I've heard of people like that. Yeah.
Like that ain't gonna fly in New York State, New York City, because Yeah, so that's one. I'm not going to get into that because people are very weird with circles.
Yeah.
I feel like when you start talking about that, that's when you fall into those QAnon rabbit holes.
Right.
Because there's people who are just like so extreme. And I'm just like, okay, don't get one.
Yeah. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
all right. Yeah.
no, I don't like talking about because it does. It gets people.
Yeah, it seems like a situation where you could easily get turned around.
Well, it just I'm not saying that with him, but like these are not recipes to be mayor.
No, to be mayor of New York.
We like our schmeckles, peckled a little bit, and we like our 1-bedroom apartments.
Yeah. Well,
it was like, first of all, he's like talking about a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, dude, you got a 2-bedroom apartment?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, billionaire. So yeah, I just don't think there's a future for Trump politically. Yeah, I could be wrong.
I tend to agree.
But I just, I saw how he came in, what he was able to do, and I'm sorry. There's a reason why he lost by what, 8 million votes?
Yeah, a lot.
There's a reason why the Republicans lost the Senate, and they gained some seats in the House with some.
They didn't do poorly, but they lost.
Yeah, they still lost in the end.
Lost. That's how scores work.
2020. They lost the control of all houses. The only thing they have is the
judiciary.
But I have a feeling there's going to be some changes. I
would like to see that. I think I'm going to leave it at my note on this would be that I have the feeling that you are 100% right, but I would reserve judgment until after the impeachment trial. I think that's when it'll be clear, like, oh, he really is going to stay away, or oh, wow, he's probably going to be in prison, or no.
Well, they said that McConnell will basically decides what happens to Trump, because McConnell can look at it this way and be like, because right now at this point, McConnell is pretty much the leader of the Republican Party in some way, and he could look at it and go, well, you know what? I got like 17 young senators that could run for president right now, or I could waste it on this windbag.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that there's a good case made. Trump's going to be impeached.
I think
supposedly there's 2 things that can happen. And this is the thing I could see McConnell definitely going through, where it's like you need a majority to make sure he can't run again.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you got to make it so that he can't run again.
And then there's the 2/3 of the Senate that's where they fully indict him and impeach him. And I have a feeling that McConnell will go down that route of, I'll make sure he can't run ever again.
Well, if you're gonna take a swing, you got to land a knockout blow. You don't like half measure this. If you're gonna take him out, you take him out.
President anymore, you solve that problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying, is that you got to go all the way.
I just think there's going to be a lot of hungry people they're already looking at running for president. How could they? Do you think they want to run against Trump? Look what happened last time. He can just suck all the wind out of the room. No one will care that you also want to kill people like he does.
Right.
Do you think so one of the other ones, we'll wrap this up soon. His daughter supposedly wants to run for Senate in Florida.
Yeah, I've heard that. I could see that happening. I could see them trying to primary Marco Rubio. The 2 senators
Marco Rubio would trounce her.
It depends. I mean, like, it's again like what is left of that MAGA coalition. Like, if they primary him, if they run as Republicans, then you could see Ivanka beating Marco.
I don't think so. I don't think she could beat him in a primary.
I don't know.
I don't think she doesn't. Again, it's like there was a freak show train wreck when it came to Trump in 2016, and this was on a national level. We're talking now about a primary in Florida. Now, if you do bring her in, yeah, there might be more of a national attention on it. It's just she has no fucking personality.
No, she's real bland. But like Trump would be on the campaign trail with her.
I just think I think he's going to be worried about he's going to have to be like donating some of his DNA soon, because isn't that true? There's like one of the
I think so.
cases
So one
against
of
him,
them has put out a request for his DNA or something.
and then now that he's not president, they can like kind of enforce that or something.
I think they could compel it. I don't know. I don't know the real specifics around that.
Baron,
I think you're right.
Here. Baron, give me your sock. Baron, give me your sock.
Yeah. Woof.
Eric, give me your sock.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I still think that it's all going to come down. It's still going to come down to the impeachment trial. If he gets off scot-free, maybe Ivanka's got a path forward. If he goes down as a seditionist and it gets penalized harshly, I think the Trump stink lingers on the family a little longer.
Here's the thing. He still goes down as seditionist regardless if the Republicans want to vote on it or not. Because if they deny reality like they will. See, unlike last time, what are they going to do? They're going to talk about Hunter Biden again?
Well,
what is that, Hunter Biden?
Hillary Clinton.
Like, what are they going to talk? See, the difference was they tried to create this case about Hunter Biden during the first impeachment.
Yeah.
And it was a distraction, of course, and it was get the
right.
But you could make like some weird rational like discussion, like, well, if I'm being in trouble, what did your son do? Whatever.
Yeah.
But they basically impeached him in the House for treason, right?
Yeah. Well, inciting an insurrection. It's not treason, but it's not good. It's a big one.
Yeah. So what are the Republicans' game plan going to be? No, that didn't happen. Well, here's the footage.
Well, they'll do the same thing they did the last time when he's like taking calls from the Ukraine or whatever. They'll be like, yeah, we'll read the text. He says, go down there and kick some ass. People say that at Little League games. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, that's what they'll say. That's 100%.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I just don't think they're going to be in the same position they were at last year.
I agree. I think, and again, like you said earlier, it's going to come down to Mitch McConnell. Does he give him the green light and say, "Look, I'm going to go after this guy"?
Also,
because
who is going to be the judge? Who's going to be the lawyers for Trump?
I don't think he's gotten any yet.
Wait, what? Alan Dershowitz? I don't think. I think
could be.
I don't think he's going to have Giuliani.
No, Giuliani
Whatever,
can't.
Who knows? Okay, let's just end it on this. He pardoned a bunch of people.
Yeah.
He pardoned the Lil Wayne guy.
It's like a bunch of rappers and swindlers. That's what it is. It's like real estate conmen and rappers is who he pardoned.
He pardoned Steve Bannon, of course. Yeah. He did not pardon Giuliani.
No.
Well, I guess has Giuliani ever really been arrested? I guess Steve Bannon's been arrested for things, so it's
no. But Giuliani, most people agree he's in some sort of legal peril.
Yeah, well, that, and he also told people to trial by combat or something.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, okay. So my favorite one, and I'll give you this. This is probably the only good thing Trump did as president.
Yeah. He
did not pardon Tiger King.
Yeah, I agree. That is good.
I love Tiger King's tweet. Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, did he?
I guess he was able to tweet. I'm surprised he's not verified. At first, I thought it was a joke, but I guess it's his actual Twitter account. Let me see if I can find it. It was really funny. It was like,
oh, I was too innocent and too gay to deserve a
yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's so funny.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. They had like a stretch limo ready to pick him up. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh my God, it's like huge and ridiculous looking.
Wow.
Yeah. He said that he was too innocent and too gay to be whatever. besides the animal abuse, there was some other shit, and he
He
deserves
was just, yeah, I mean, like, he was not a great person. I sympathize with his upbringing. It seemed like he had a tough go of it as a kid. Plenty of people have a tough go of it as a kid and
and they
don't
don't,
wind up, yeah,
they
doing
don't,
all the shit he did.
yeah. I mean, first of all, why would Trump pardon him? What, because one reality star to another, I
Yeah,
guess? I don't know.
probably.
So my favorite though was all these like people online, I call them like Rogan nuts and right wing idiots. They're all like huge. He's gonna pardon Assange and Snowden.
Yeah,
And it's
a lot
so
of people
weird
say
how
that.
like Snowden got like sucked into this whole.
Yeah.
It's because he's been on Joe Rogan a couple of times.
Well, and he's, again, like an anti-authoritarian, a don't trust the system. I mean, he's a natural fit for this type of crowd.
But I don't get. But these are like fascists, like Jack Posiak, who's saying this. Like, I get it when it's like some person who claims to be on the fringes and doesn't believe. But when you have people who are literally telling people to like, I'm a Republican, vote Republican.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get that. I find it really weird. I don't know. You know what? I'm kind of glad he didn't pardon them.
Yeah.
We've learned over the years that Assange is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Assange, and I don't know. I mean, like, there's plenty, I guess I'll put it that way. There's plenty of other people that I'd put ahead of them for a pardon. So.
And the Snowden thing's kind of weird. I don't like going into it. I just find it. He's been living in Russia for like what, 10 years now or something?
A little weird. Yep.
Yeah. Like, what are you fucking? What's that guy's name? That director that won't come here because he'll get arrested for rape.
Roman Polanski.
Yeah. like, dude, you've been in there too long. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of glad. I don't know. I was like, dude, why do you think Trump was going to pardon those people?
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. People, yeah. You know what? It's been really weird. It's been a weird.
It has.
I was kind of hoping Biden's inauguration would begin with, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
I'll say this. You know what was one of the best things about his inauguration?
Huh.
Never mentioned Trump once.
Right.
Never even mentioned his administration. Didn't mention any of it.
Yeah.
What Trump do from day one?
Yeah.
Constantly attacked Obama. Constantly attacked Hillary. Constantly attacked all previous administrations by name.
Yeah.
I watched the White House press conference today.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Short, but she didn't talk about. Now, I think it would have been really funny if she came out just like Sean Spicer and said, "This was the largest inauguration crowd, period." And it would have been funny because
clearly it wasn't. Yeah,
it was nobody there because of coronavirus.
Yeah,
and it would be, I don't know, like it was like night and day. It was like you don't have this whole combative toad on stage that's just like,
that's funny,
spreading lies. Like they don't care about the inauguration size because they don't give a shit. So it's gonna be a weird 4 years in that. Like, what are we gonna talk about?
I don't know. Well, we have WandaVision that we're going to talk about at some point.
We're gonna wait till the 5th episode.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 2 episoes weren't enough. Didn't give me a reason to talk about it. I want to know.
We'll think of something, and there's liable to be news over the next couple of days anyway.
Will there be news without we talk about the news without mentioning what's his face?
We could try.
You know what we could do too? I have some movie suggestions that I've been using for a while. Maybe next week we can do Superman, Man of Steel. Sorry.
Okay, right, yep.
Not Superman, because they don't.
The Richard Donner one.
Not the Richard Donner one. I'm talking about Man of Steel. They don't even. Here's the funny thing about that movie. They don't even say his fucking name in it.
Yeah.
They don't even say Superman. They're so afraid to say the word Superman.
Yeah, I like that. I'd be down with that one.
Yeah. What do you think of, real quick, what do you think of that movie?
Superman?
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. I liked it a lot. It felt to me like they were getting it right. I liked, I've seen them all. I saw the Brandon Ruth ones, and then.
Only one Brandon Ruth one.
Well, Oh yeah, he replayed that. Where did he replay that? Was he in a?
He was only Superman he should have been Superman in like the Crisis series on CW.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
He reprised his Superman role in that. That was kind of cool. I'm just talking about Man of Steel from 2013.
I liked it. I would have to go back and watch it again on its own, because I think part of what I really liked about it is that it was so different than the Brandon Ruth one. Did the Brandon Ruth one have Parker Posey? Was that the?
Yes, I hated that one.
Right.
It was
a mess. It was a mess. So yeah. I would want to go back and see, like, well, do I really like this movie on its own, or did I just like it a whole lot better than the one I had seen previously? You like this movie a lot. I know we've talked about this.
No, Man of Steel?
You don't like that one?
Not really. No, I like parts of it. I don't know. I think it's I remember seeing it with me and my father-in-law went to go see it in Chico, and my favorite thing was my father-in-law, the first thing he said was, "That was not Superman." I don't know what that was.
All right.
And he's he's probably had Superman in his entire life.
Yeah, for sure.
In his 80s and stuff. And he said, I don't know what the hell that was. That was
right.
And that's not a direct quote, but he did basically say, I don't know what that was. That was not Superman.
Huh.
And he's 100% right.
Right.
We'll save it for the episode. I haven't seen it in probably like at least 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a while for me.
Max, so why don't we do that one?
Yeah, I like it.
I think it's I think you're gonna, when you rewatch it, and I'm curious to think what your opinion is gonna be on.
Yeah.
And it's really easier to decide what kind of a person you are.
Well, and there's been some water under the bridge since then too. So
what?
There's been some water under the bridge since then too. Like more DC movies have come out post that. So
this movie was like a weird in that you had the Batman Nolan trilogy.
Yep.
And they were like, well, how do we kind of bring that into Superman? And then the movie did successful enough that then that's when DC decided, well, we need to create a universe, and they decided we're just going to use this as a springboard, even though nothing in the movie even opens up to a bigger universe.
Right. All right.
So let's table that. We'll do that one next week.
Sounds real good.
So on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.